I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know
You had 5
how
years.
to put it on paper. I know you know that we had very many good days. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. This is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Sarah Boone.
Now, this is unlike a trial, so you're allowed to speak.
But you're allowed to talk this time.
As well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
Yes.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of...
Thank you. God, somebody did it. Thank you.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know
You had 5
how
years.
to put it on paper. And I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on paper, I have... This is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the tip of the
So
tip.
the Census Sarah is
And if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Kintu Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition.
Oh, I've seen that Chinese people do that with broken china.
Together again using liquid gold or gold.
And it makes it more valuable even.
So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history.
At deposits. So is she saying that by destroying the life of George Torres, she made him more valuable?
I don't know where this is going.
I don't know. I'm scared.
More beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family.
Well, because he didn't hit her. I mean, it's not like she wasn't abused by him.
Department, social media, scoundrel.
Yeah, that's a set of balls, story.
Defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or...
Now, does what she say in court, like, if she... her sentence has already been decided before she's arrived, right? She just hasn't been told yet, but it's been decided already.
Before this, all the victims have given their impact statements and confronted her.
No, but my question is that before she showed up for court today,
Yeah.
her sentence was already decided.
Correct.
It just hasn't been shared with her yet. That's why she goes to court.
Cranick might have decided already, but the idea of an allocution is to show remorse.
That's what I'm saying. But can showing remorse shorten your change their mind, the sentence idea?
The way I understand it, Cranick has two choices. One is life in prison without parole, which is what she got, or life in prison with the possibility of parole. No parole for her.
Yeah, no, I know that. I know that already.
Yeah, I don't
My
know.
question is, Because I heard, of course, this was years ago when she was first on trial, that she could get 20 plus years, but now we're looking at just forever.
Yeah.
You know.
And my guess is that Kranick had stuff written out the night before, probably, rehearsed it in the mirror or whatever he does. But he, if he had been completely blown away by her just,
Well, she's only like 3 minutes, 23 seconds into this.
Yeah, maybe she...
And she's supposed to be there trying to at least get life with parole.
Right. And she's talking about pottery.
And right now, I mean, this is Florida. They could be building like a little guillotine outside, You give me leading to another option,
Yeah.
I mean, that they have the death sentence there, don't they? Or no?
They do, but she's not up for that.
Oh.
She can't be.
How do you say? Can you ever talk your way into that? I'm wondering.
If anybody could do it, I think Sarah Boone should talk herself into the electric chair. Yeah.
Justice. It doesn't matter. As the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven. And when you forgive, you have...
Have you forgiven George then? If you blame him, do you forgive it?
And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with Jorge Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me, senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day.
Yeah, and for interrupting her sleep when she had all these wonderful motherly things to do.
Yeah.
The thing is when you're offering true forgiveness, you don't have a laundry list of each and everything that person has done.
Right. There's no need to bring it up. If
you are just forgiving them. You're forgiving them of their sin, of the heartache that they caused, plain and simple. You don't go in. She's doing this for guilt. She's doing this so that his family knows he was a bad person to her.
Yeah.
For ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together. For wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over. For breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe.
Your dogs are blind and deaf? Oh, dear God.
Oh, my God.
So how does she live? She's such a martyr.
At 5'10".
Everything she can do.
And deaf dogs. And her whole family's dead, too.
Telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me. For threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother.
That has nothing to do with this.
That's not what we're here about.
We're not here about what George has done to you in the past. We're here about how you killed him.
Could be out in 5 years. She's going to die in prison. What the fuck?
You think somebody will kill her?
No, but she's going to die as an old woman. And
You could be out of it. You're saying she'll die in 5 years.
nobody's going to kill her.
For all of the drunken rages and fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped. For drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink.
I don't want to drink, so you're going to force me to drink.
For drowning her in liquor. That's
And
why
wine.
He turned her into Drunky the Bear.
Yeah, apparently that wasn't her choice.
Wow.
My friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece. For threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave. For stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. For me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison. For beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe. For having me experience what it means to see stars like in the cartoons, where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times.
It's the cartoon reference is weird. I always thought she's kind of
in the cartoon.
she's kind of a cartoon.
Like the
But-
way they have in the cartoon.
We've said that before.
Like the way they are with the cartoon.
Drunky the Bear. And I'm sure some of this happened, but I think there's Sarah's version and then there's
The thing is I'm sure all of this happened.
Yeah.
I just think that there was other stuff that happened on her end too.
Mhm.
For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him. For taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him.
Okay, so all this I'm sure happened, but you know what trumps everything else is locking him in a suitcase and going upstairs and leaving him there. I mean,
I'm curious to know how she got him into the suitcase. Like, I wouldn't even think, I would look at it and go, I'm not going to fit in that suitcase.
that's a good point. I'm really curious to know how that went down exactly.
She's never going to tell us, and she's the only one that can. So,
Yeah.
For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter, not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time with my son, have a job, friendships, simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying, in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was, capable of, and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it, than to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help.
Oh my goodness.
All of his siblings, including Vivera Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of their head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them, and after all the time Sarah tried to by asking for help, from all of us, and so many times. Another great contributor of my gold is social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion.
yeah, well, thinking about social media over here, we did not manipulate anything. Well, I mean, our music, maybe. But I mean, all we did was watch the interrogation, listen to her story, and call bullshit.
Remember
Okay, that's all we did.
remember when all the attention was just online, like the mainstream media hadn't picked this
Right,
yet?
right.
And the reason it was big, especially online, is because of that drunken video.
Yeah.
And then the interrogation. If she had stopped there and not written the letters from prison,
Oh, we would have forgotten about her a long time ago.
you know,
We might have perked up when her sentencing came, but that would have been it,
Mm.
you know? But firing all your lawyers, you drew the attention on yourself, sweetie pie.
Right.
You
And then
know?
when she was forced to go pro se, that's when it blew up over the whole mainstream media.
Forced.
Was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others'
Should you see the
misfortunes,
beauty in this?
accidents, and
She
catastrophes.
forgives us
It's
for
all over
this,
their heads
Andrew.
and
We're
their
forgiven.
I feel
And even after all that's said
cleansed.
and done,
Yeah.
Yeah,
theorized,
Sarah, the
scrutinized, and
Samsonite
blasphemed
savior.
in my case.
Yeah.
Still
She gonna
no one
forgive
knows
the
me.
lawyers that wouldn't argue her case because she wouldn't accept
In
any
the
plea
end, I
deals.
forgive myself
It's not
for
an
choosing my
allocution,
life
it's an
sooner, for
absolution.
not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. For being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home, and car. Having 20/20 hindsight thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not, the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs.
Oh my
Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am, endlessly, and that I never stopped loving him. In all of it and still.
Like, why can't she say how sorry she is right now? Why does it have to be in heaven when...
And why does it have to be that she already said she was sorry to the guy who's dead? She hasn't apologized to anyone, really.
Still, so this,
Still hasn't apologized.
the family is right there.
She hasn't.
I mean, it's one thing
She listed all the reasons he was a horrible person.
and talk shit about
And talked about how she forgave that, but she hasn't asked anyone to forgive her.
Can you imagine? Like,
Well, she talked about how God forgives her.
I can't believe how quiet the courtroom is. Can you imagine being his family and sitting there and taking this? I mean, I don't think I'd be able to stay quiet.
Really shooter.
When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking for their forgiveness, but due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send. I'm sorry.
Well, then you didn't ask
I
it.
cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Please forgive me.
That's it?
I mean,
That's it? I sent a letter to you guys asking your forgiveness, but I didn't mail it. Sorry about that. And then she looks up for a second, please forgive me, and then goes back into her own little freaking crap.
that's the closest we've ever gotten to her saying sorry. I mean,
Yeah, but
that,
after 5 years, that's all she could do?
yeah.
That's the best she could do?
She still can't say the S word.
Almost everything reminds me of him, seeing my stab wound every day especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is everywhere.
I fucking
I
hope
believe
so.
because I do still love him. Think of
I
him
hope he
and
haunts her.
his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never.
But you did.
Forgive me, George.
Oh.
Forgive me, Torres family. forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me.
The entire planet.
I graciously and humbly ask for consideration, for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward. My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me please to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off of my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding in what really happened and for how long.
This would be a great monologue to use in auditions.
Yeah, you've had 48 minutes to do a monologue. They usually only give you a minute now.
Second chances, repentance, and redemption to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it's too late. There is always hope, and you can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this. Would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died? How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor.
Oh boy. I mean, okay, those words coming from anybody but her would be touching, and you know what I mean?
I mean, no, and she's acting like we're not acknowledging the bad things he did because he's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, we are acknowledging it, but that's not a defense for him being dead.
Right.
Okay. And guess what? Like, you didn't have to kill him.
Yeah. I mean, you're not necessarily defined by one action, but sometimes one action defines you. And this is the case where what she did defines what she is now. And,
Right.
and that trumps everything that he did to her.
Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17.
Oh, she's quoting the Bible.
Protect the abused.
But we are.
What's that?
We are protecting the abused. He was abused too.
Yeah.
And guess what? Even if he did all of those things, like I said, not saying he didn't, you never gave him a chance to even argue.
Yeah.
It's just been you doing all the talking because he's dead. And he's dead because you heard him claim to you that he can't breathe and you decided to walk out of the room.
And he doesn't have a chance to, I mean, anybody can turn their life around if they want to. Who knows if he could have.
Even if she was drunk, he didn't drown you in alcohol then.
No.
Ms. Boone, is that the end of your written statement?
Yes.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
All right, would you do that now?
Yes, please.
Wait, that wasn't her statement. She just talked for 20 minutes.
What did we just watch? Okay.
And that said, keep that in mind, that was edited.
Yeah. Well,
This was just the prime picking.
This is going to be off the cuff. This ought to be fucking good.
My statement, my verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family, to the judge, to his daughters. I know you all know who I really am and that I did care for George and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days. And I take offense to the statement of
Oh, my God.
being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom in front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting. The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed except for my stab wound. But this has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to not be weak and just try to protect yourself and forever, regardless of the time that I may receive from today, I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind, my body, and my soul. As he and I used to say that we were one soul split into two bodies. This is not just for a moment. It may be for everyone in this courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever. When you all leave, that this is forever. This is forever for everyone here.
And that's why it's sad you killed it.
Those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever. I'm sorry. Words do not define my shame, and I don't know what else it is that I can say and convey to the Torres family
You just stop while you're ahead.
how this happened. The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry. Words cannot describe. And I hope that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him. And I ask for forgiveness.